Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, who told me I couldn't? Pause. Who whispered doubt into your dreams before they even had a chance to live? Let me tell you something powerful today. That voice was lying. See, we grow up collecting labels. Not enough. Just a girl. Just a boy. And without even realizing it, we start shrinking ourselves to fit into spaces we were always meant to outgrow. But not today. Not anymore. Because today, we're stepping into truth. Today, we're breaking up with fear. We're cutting off the narrative that says, you'll never make it, and replacing it with, watch me rise. Yes, Lord. Let me ask you, what if your greatest limitation was never real? What if it was just a lie disguised as a lesson? What if the people who doubted you were only projecting their own brokenness? Hear me when I say this, you don't owe doubt a seat at your table anymore. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're questioning whether you've got what it takes, lean in. Because this isn't just a talk, it's a war cry. And we're about to go from silence to sound, from small to soaring, from doubt to power. Let's talk about the root. Yes, not just the leaves of your doubt, not the fruit of your fear, but the root, deep down beneath your mindset, the place where belief is planted or poisoned. You see, limiting beliefs don't show up at the surface first. They are sown in silence in seasons where someone said you can't, and you believe them. Someone said, if you're not enough, and that lie took root like a weed in the garden of your identity. Have you ever asked yourself, where did this belief come from? Who gave me the lens that told me I was too broken to be brilliant? Who handed me the mirror that only reflects my mistakes, but not my momentum? Who convinced me that I couldn't, when everything in my spirit knew I could? You've got to confront the root. Because until you do, every win feels like a fluke. Every success tastes like, maybe they made a mistake letting me in the room. You sit at the table, but keep shrinking in your chair. You post the picture, but you second-guess the caption. You pray, but doubt the power of your own voice. You show up, but you stay small. Why? Because the root is still telling you, don't forget you're not her, you're not him, you're not them. And I came to call that root a liar. I came to remind you that belief is borrowed or broken, but never beyond repair. Because when you trace that root, you'll see it wasn't your voice that first said, for not worthy. It wasn't your soul that whispered, you'll never change. That was inherited doubt. That was fear passed down in families, in failures, in forgotten moments where you weren't protected, or seen, or chosen. But what if you could speak a new word to the root? What if you could declare, I know who I am even when I forget who I've been? What if you said, I know what hurt me, but I also know what healed me? Because healing has a sound, and it speaks louder than the silence of shame. You must confront the root with truth. Not just any truth, your truth. The truth that says, yes, I've been afraid, but I'm still here. The truth that declares, I doubted myself, but I never quit. The truth that whispers, there's more in me even if they never see it. Let me ask you, how many dreams died because of a belief that was never questioned? How many paths were never walked because you believed you weren't the one? Somebody said, stay in your lane, but you were born to build the highway. Somebody said, that's not for people like you, but you were born to redefine what's possible. And when the enemy of your purpose starts talking, because yes, doubt has a voice, you've got to talk back. You've got to say, not today, not tomorrow, not again. When insecurity rises like a wave, you must be the storm that stills the sea. When fear comes knocking, you answer with faith. When shame sits on your shoulders, you stand anyway. When doubt questions your ability, you speak from your identity. Your identity is not tied to the people who left. It's not limited by the failures you survive. It's not erased by the detours you've taken. It is rooted, yes, rooted in a purpose that was spoken over your life before you were ever doubted by the world. And when you find that identity, when you speak truth to the root, you break every chain tied to that lie. And sometimes, oh yes, sometimes you don't need to prove anything. You just need to remember everything. Remember the days you didn't give up, the nights you cried and still rose up, the jobs you lost but the courage you kept, the words they said and the way you rewrote your story. That's Tori anyway. That's truth. That's root level revelation. Because when you identify the root, you don't just change your mindset, you change your legacy. You don't just move differently, you live differently. You stop walking like a question mark and start standing like an exclamation point. You stop repeating old narratives and start writing divine declarations. You stop asking, who am I to do this? And start saying, who am I not to? Let's talk about the voice, the one in your head. Not the one you post for or the one you put makeup on. I'm talking about the one that whispers in the dark, The one that questions you when the crowd goes home. That voice, that's the battlefield. That's where belief begins and where doubt dares to speak. You can dress up your pain, disguise your hesitation, but if you don't take authority over that inner narrative, it will keep you circling the same mountain year after year, season after season, relationship after relationship, wondering, why do I always end up here? You see, a transformed mind produces a transformed life, and yet we try to upgrade our lives without ever updating our thoughts. We change our friends, our feeds, our hair, our hustle, but we don't change our thinking. Why? Because it's easier to fix what people can see than face what people don't. But that hidden place, that is where real power is cultivated. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, not just the renewing of your circumstances, not just the renewing of your resume, but the mind, the mindset, the mechanism that sets your atmosphere. Let me tell you, mindset is not a mood. It's not just feeling confident one day and crying the next. Mindset is a decision. It's the internal agreement you make with your own destiny. It's saying, I refuse to let my history decide my identity. It's saying, I may have been broken, but I'm not going to think broken. It's saying, my past might have shaped me, but it will not define me. A champion's mindset doesn't just happen. It's built day by day, thought by thought, battle by battle. Champions don't wait for confidence to find them. They command it. They wake up and declare, I am who God says I am. Even if my emotions haven't caught up yet, they speak life when everything around them feels like death. They build discipline when motivation disappears. And they remind themselves, I don't need to feel it to be it. The enemy doesn't care about your hustle. He's after your headspace. He wants you overthinking your calling. He wants you rehearsing every rejection like it's your reflection. He wants you looking at your scars like they're disqualifiers instead of signs you survived. He wants you silent, stuck, sedated by the lie that this is as far as you'll go. But I came to snatch somebody out of that lie today. I came to say, your mind is the battleground, but you've got the weapons. You've got the word, you've got the truth. You've got the power to shift atmospheres with your thoughts. You've got the right to say, I will not think like a victim in a season that requires vision. You've got permission to shut down every thought that doesn't agree with your purpose. Can I ask you something? Who told you that the thought was truth? Just because it showed up in your mind doesn't mean it belongs in your heart. Not every thought deserves a seat at your table. Not every fear deserves your focus. Not every voice deserves to echo. Some thoughts, you've got to evict them. Nope, you can't stay here. You don't get to decide my day. You don't get to tell me who I'm not. You don't get to replay old pain when I'm trying to birth new purpose. A winner's mindset is trained like a muscle. It's not born overnight. It's built in the fire. It's forged in the hard places. When you show up even though your mind says, stay down. When you pray even though doubt says God's not listening. When you keep pressing, keep pushing, keep believing, even when the evidence says, this makes no sense. And hear me. The mind will play tricks, but the spirit speaks truth. And when you feed your faith more than your fear, when you turn up the volume of hope louder than the voice of hurt, when you fix your mind on what is still possible, not what was painful, that's when chains break. That's when clarity comes. That's when healing flows. You've got to monitor your mental gate. What are you letting in? Who are you listening to? Are you feeding yourself affirmations or accusations? Are you making room for peace? Or replaying every painful memory like a loop? Are you speaking your identity out loud, or letting silence become your agreement with the enemy? Say this, I will take my mind back. Say it again out loud. I will take my mind back, because your thoughts shape your words build your world, and your world reflects your worth. If you think small, you act small. You miss your moment. But if you think victory, you walk like it's already done. Sometimes the shift isn't about praying harder. It's about thinking higher. You can't conquer on the outside what you haven't claimed on the inside. You can't lead with impact if you still think like an imposter. You can't build big if you believe small. Mindset is mission. Mindset is mantle. Mindset is momentum. And if you guard it, if you train it, if you speak to it, you will not be moved by what tries to break you. And when that voice tries to creep in again, you know the one that says, who do you think you are? You respond with truth. You say, I am chosen, I am covered, I am called, I am here on purpose, for purpose, with purpose. And then you walk like you believe it. What if the thing holding you back isn't your past, but your permission? What if, hear me, what if you're not stuck because of the pain you walked through, but because you haven't given yourself permission to rise beyond it? See, There comes a point when surviving the storm isn't enough. There comes a point when you've got to reclaim authority over your life, over your narrative, over your future, over your thought patterns, because the voice of your breakthrough will never sound like the echo of your trauma. And if you don't stop, pause, and reprogram your belief system, that old cycle will keep running disguised as reality. Now listen, people will applaud your performance. They will validate your productivity. They will celebrate what you do. But what's the use of achieving everything if you're still chained inside? What's the point of elevation when the elevation only reminds you of the pain you haven't processed? You've got to stop building with bricks made of fear. You've got to stop planting hope in soil that still believes it's cursed. That's not faith. That's frustration dressed up like purpose. And baby, that's not your portion. You see, transformation doesn't begin on the outside. It doesn't begin with applause or acceptance. It starts in the dark, in the silence, in that lonely space where it's just you and the mirror, just you and that memory, just you and the question that won't stop haunting you: can I really change? Am I really worthy? Do I really belong in the room I prayed for? And that, right there, that's where permission is born, not from the opinions of people, not from titles, but from truth. Truth says you don't need trauma to keep telling your story. Truth says healing isn't weakness, it's warfare. Truth says permission isn't passive, it's power. The moment you say out loud, I give myself permission to be free, everything starts shifting. Why? Because you're no longer asking your pain for approval. Let me break this down. Your past may have shaped your view, but it does not get to run your vision. When God gives you vision, He's not checking your history. He's not reviewing your resume. He's not asking for votes or validation. He's speaking directly into the real you, the you behind the mask, the you behind the makeup, the you behind the degrees. And He's saying, get up. You are not done. But if your mindset is still handcuffed to who you used to be, you'll hear that calling and still stay seated. The danger of trauma is not always in what happened. It's in what you started believing because of it. I'm too broken. I'm not enough. I always get left. I don't belong. It's too late for me. And you start building your entire life around a lie. You dress it up. You give it names like discernment or boundaries or standards. But deep down, you know it's fear. Fear pretending to protect you. But really, it's blocking you. And so I ask you again, will you give yourself permission to dream again without filtering it through what failed before? Permission to be seen without apologizing for your light. Permission to feel joy without waiting for the pain to return. Because if you keep waiting for someone else to say, "Ga," you'll miss the moment. You'll miss the door. You'll miss the anointing that's been sitting there waiting for your agreement. Permission sounds like, I don't have to earn peace. I'm entitled to it. It sounds like my history is not my identity. It sounds like I was chosen even before I healed. You don't have to arrive perfect. You just have to be willing to try, willing to believe, willing to stop shrinking, willing to trust that even now, God can use this, that even now, your voice still has volume, that even now, the next chapter can be your best one yet. But let me be clear, permission is not passive. You don't whisper it, you declare it. You walk like it's true. You write like it's done. You show up like heaven already said me is. And the more you walk in it, believe in it, the more your spirit starts rising, your fear starts retreating, because permission activates power. So many of us are stuck asking God, when will it be my time? And He's asking you, when will you believe it already is? When will you stop waiting for rescue and start responding to revelation? You don't need another prophecy. You don't need another sign. You need agreement. You need authority. You need to stand flat, footed, and say, I give myself permission to go all in. Not half healed, not half trusting, not half hiding, but all in. And hear this, the enemy doesn't fear your progress. He fears your permission. He doesn't mind you running hard as long as you're still running in circles. He's not afraid of your calendar. He's afraid of your clarity. That's why the attacks started when you started thinking different. That's why the pressure increased when you started dreaming big. That's why the warfare got wild when you said, no more shrinking. I'm stepping out. You see, identity unlocks strategy. And when you know who you are, you stop settling for what doesn't fit. You stop explaining your worth to people who can't hold your value. You stop begging for space and start taking up space. You stop entertaining maybe and start living mandate. That's what permission sounds like. It's a shift, a signal, a sentence that breaks generational silence. I give myself permission to be more than my pain, and if you're waiting for someone else to give you that, you'll be waiting forever. Because sometimes the deliverance doesn't come from outside voices. Sometimes it comes from the moment you look in the mirror and say, "It's my time."